The Scream franchise. We rated it previously, gentlemen. So, Jared, Brandon, myself, we did a ranking previously. Mine was pretty standard. Scream 1, Scream 2, Scream 4, Scream 3. I think most of us had that little section. There was a little bit of controversy about either Scream 3 or Scream 4 being the worst.
Yeah, well, I remember talking down on Scream 4 for like 2 years before we did that, and then watching them again and going, oh shit, I think Scream 3 was worse. So.
Yeah. So now obviously we've got the new Scream in the mix. So we're going to redo it. Okay? Now, just to start off, our mate Luke from Instagram, he's given us his ranking.
Mm-hmm.
Scream is at number 1, 1996 Scream. Scream 2022 is at number 2. Scream 4 is at number 3.
Mm.
Scream 2 is at 4. And Scream 3 is fucking propping up the bottom. So that's an interesting little mix. For me.
Yep.
All right, straight out of the gate, what's the fucking worst one?
Scream 3.
So, yeah, controversially, last episode, I held my flag up high for Scream 3. I rewatched the series.
Right.
I don't know if you guys did before going into this new one.
I'll let Luke do it. Then
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so one of us did our homework, one of us cheated on the test again.
I got an A.
And yes, I will admit, I think I lay a little too much hate on Scream 4, and I think similar to you, I have sort of reassessed it, and I do believe that it honestly does a lot more right than wrong. And even though I am putting it last, I gotta say that I do still have a whole hell of a lot of fun with Scream 3.
Yeah.
So if that is the worst in your horror franchise, I think you're doing pretty damn good. But I do admit, and we'll officially say here, yeah, that Scream 3 is the bottom of the barrel here.
Yeah, and I would agree with you wholeheartedly with regards to the series itself. As far as quality of films, I mean, fuck.
It's got to be the most consistent.
There are 6 Fridays worse than Scream 3.
Oh, easy. Yeah, easy.
Yeah. Like, there's a handful of Friday films that would be lucky to jump Scream 3.
Yeah.
So, as in terms of a quality series, it's right up there. But I'm looking at it from the series itself. So this is where I'm going to be harsh on the way I look at these. But 3's just a fucking mess. Like, it is just all over the place. And I think it's hamstrung a little bit by Neve Campbell not really being available very much.
Yep.
So they've cobbled together this bullshit about fucking Roman Bridger, who's fucking... Honestly, he's the worst villain in the series by far.
Yes.
Agreed.
I mean, I would have loved if you fucking pivoted and said Lance Hendrickson did it. I would have loved to see Lance fucking chew some scenery about why he did it.
Yeah, I think the thing for me, and I'm a bit like Brandon, like, watching it this time, there's been so much distance. I know Scream 3 is my least favourite. I know it's not so great a movie. So watching it this time around, it's the point of acceptance, right? We know what it is, so you're more inclined to just look for the things that you do like about it. I think the biggest problem is that it's the one that doesn't... It's the one where it's a bit sloppy in terms of the script and the rules. Like, it goes really loose with the rules. McDreamy talking about my life and all that sort of stuff.
You're very fucking big on McDreamy being
I thought he was
in these films.
Awful in that movie. And I don't think he's a bad actor.
Yeah, he's a very good actor. I'm not quite sure what the fuck he was doing.
Yeah, but that My Life is one of the worst line deliveries I've fucking seen ever. But the thing about it is, even missing what we loved about the other movies, it stumbled into this relevance as a Harvey Weinstein picture that basically comments on all the shit that he was doing.
Mm.
So I don't know whether that was intentionally put in there by someone with kind of trying to sort of put this out there in some way.
It was written by Ethan Kruger.
Where, yeah, so I think it's
possibly been deliberately put in there.
Yeah, so I think it's found its place in this series accidentally.
Yeah.
Just stumbled into this meta commentary by accident.
Yeah.
And Parker Posey is fantastic.
She's the highlight.
Carrie Fisher's cameo, fantastic. And I mean, give it to me, but Connie fucking Chung, I laugh my ass off every time I see that. So
Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah.
It's in the universe. That's right.
yeah, I've hit this point of acceptance where, like you, Brandon, I actually enjoy watching it now, which I think is a good place to be.
Yeah, and that's fair. For me, this is the one that looks like it reeks of a studio rushing product.
Yeah.
That they did not take the time nor the care
Yep.
to say we could have an absolutely top-notch trilogy.
Yeah. And I
if we
can't
took
remember
an extra year.
in that interview. I can't remember what Kevin Williamson's idea about Scream 3 was, but I remember it being quite
Better.
a good one.
Yeah.
I can't remember whether it was this one or possibly Scream 4. I think his idea was, and we actually spoke about this. I think his idea was that it was like a whole movie club. Or
Oh,
a
it was
whole
like April Fool's Day.
Yes, there was an April
Kind of
Fool's
felt
Day
like
element,
that.
and there was also an element where Stu was puppeteering from prison, which who knows how that would have played out. But fuck, any
Again,
time to have Matthew.
did he
Lillard
have a
back on
fucking-
screen.
A face fucking or a headectomy because he had his head knocked off.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's like Herbert West was in there fucking doing some reanimating experiments or something. But
Yeah, he was being held in Miskatonic prison.
Or we could have finally seen Lillard on the Academy stage, accepting an Oscar like Anthony Hopkins, playing this whole mad scientist from prison.
Imagine that. Imagine
Yeah,
getting
could
a
you?
fucking gong for that shit. I mean, I love the bloke. Don't get me wrong. Love him.
I'd love
I
to
love
see him
him.
back. Yeah, Scream 3, I will say, yeah, it's just a poorly written film.
Yeah.
It's still really well directed. I think Wes Craven, this is probably the last best film I honestly think this might be, while it's not as good, I think the look of it, I think Scream 4, some of my problems come in with this look. It's too brightly lit for me. It doesn't feel like the horror movies that I think inspired Scream and that look that they're going for in the first three. It just doesn't quite, it looks too polished, a little too MTV looking almost, and maybe that comes down to the cast too. But I will feel that also Scream 4 lacks, while Hayden Panettiere is really good and a memorable character, I do think it does lack some of the like real hero characters that you really get behind. Like you do feel bad when Parker Posey goes. And I still think the dynamic between Dewey and Gale, despite it being a little labored and kind of hamstrung, like, oh god damn it, they're doing this like they hate each other again thing that they finally do kind of remedy in 4, I think is still welcome. I like seeing them all back.
Yeah.
Again,
There's like 20 minutes of Scream 3 where Parker Posey and Courtney Cox's interactions with each other are some of my favourite stuff in the series.
Yeah.
It's also heavily neutered by the MPAA, which I think was a huge detriment. Like the kills in this are like disgraceful.
Yeah.
Like there's no memorable kill really in here. Do you smell? Whoever smells the gas?
Oh my
is
god,
the stupidest
that's a
bullshit.
fucking
Yeah.
disaster.
I hate that whole thing. Yeah.
Fucking Aaron Kruger, sorry. Get your fucking shit sorted out. That's rubbish.
Yeah. That motherfucker scared me more than Freddy Krueger ever has with some of his writing.
Yeah. Fucking hell. If someone told me Aaron Kruger was coming round, I'm fucking barricading doors.
Reindeer games, it's horrific.
But yeah, 3's just got too many problems, and you're right. It's the script is messy. It feels like the studio was desperate to continue to mine the gold that was there, instead of saying this is quality product that we can continue to work with if we just took time. Wait a year and let Williamson loosen his schedule up again.
Yeah, well that was
part of the problem. He didn't have time. Too busy fucking writing shit on
Same year, by the way, as this Reindeer Games, and yeah, I do gotta say,
did Kruger produce a double
2000?
banger of fucking
Yeah.
Reindeer Games and this in a year? Oh, bloke should be fucking shot.
Yeah, a little bit harsh.
Touch us, yeah, okay. Shot
but
with a
yeah, the
fucking
rules are
taser
so. The rules are so, kind of lazy, and what they do comment on trilogies doesn't really apply to horror movies. There are so few that they can even name check really in the movie. And the few that they do follow, like things, you find out something about the first that changes things. Man, I really dislike it because it does this whole retconning of the first one where Roman is, responsible for influencing Billy's decisions. And it's just like, man, that really just takes, the wind out of the sails of that first one. Let alone the fact that it's the most contrived and like, I don't understand how only one person can be doing all this.
Yes.
And it's usually we retcon because something sucked.
You just made it work. Yeah.
Not when it was one of the best endings in horror history.
No, we retcon good stuff in this series and we put in some real shit. Roman, the thing about Roman 2 is it is so hard to swallow. Like, there is so many fucking machinations that need to happen to make any of that possibly even come true.
Yeah.
And the fucking voice changer.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
Dewey, he has our voices. He's got all our voices. How? Wait, how? How does he have... We still don't have this 20 years later.
No, that's right.
Technology is not even fucking available.
Yep.
How are you doing this? It's bullshit.
Somehow got it tucked behind his mask. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do like that new one where it's just a little like they press a little button on the lid there. He's got some Ben Affleck.
They do Ben Affleck Batman
shit.
Yeah. I did actually like that because at least it explains how it does it in person.
It doesn't explain how you can't still hear the person talking though.
True. Maybe it's shoved down
sort
your
of
throat.
like Darth Vader kind of.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
But three's a fucking...
I will say I do like the end confrontation. While I'm not a fan of his reveal, I do think him and Sydney go fucking at it at the end there. Their little fight is pretty intense, and I like their whole back and forth. I think it's, again, not the best reveal, but I think the movie as a whole is fairly well acted.
Yeah.
Well paced again because it's Wes Craven, but yeah, in terms of this series, it's definitely the lowest.
Patrick Dempsey doesn't fucking turn up, and he basically turns up and gets knocked out, doesn't he? So it's like, fuck, get him out.
Patrick Warburton, we got him in there.
Oh yeah,
right.
we've got Putty. We've got fucking Putty in there.
Dewdrop.
Dewdrop, yeah.
I mean, I love to see him, but fucking oath, again, another one of these sort of pops up, and it's just kind of like, nah.
Yeah, I think
didn't really work.
Brandon, you just kind of touched on this. I think one of the best parts of Scream 3, upon rewatching it this time, is, again, the progression with Sydney. Even though she's in it for 20 minutes or whatever it is, she's just kind of there and then gone and then there at the end. The whole stuff about, where the character's gone, how she's gone to, like, locking the doors and everything, and then builds up to, as you said, the finale, if you take away the reveal, it's a fairly fucking... It's a good old knock him out, drag him down kind of blue. And then you get that ending of her just kind of saying, I'm not gonna shut myself off. And I'm like, okay, well, we still managed to progress her character in a pretty shit movie. So... Yeah.
Exactly.
But again,
even down to her job in it is like a crisis line worker. And so again, what sets this series apart from so many of these other horror series is just the attention to character and that they actually genuinely care about the progression of their people.
And again,
and that's what helps out. Although she does leave her goddamn door open at the end. Shut that.
Yeah, at least just close it at least.
We're gonna watch a movie, Patrick Dempsey, broken arm.
When he pops up with the popcorn there, I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah. And I cannot believe they're still together. I mean, if that fuckwit rolled over to me and said, oh, my life is the biggest nightmare or fucking horror movie I've ever seen, I would just go, you're off the list, mate. You are off the list.
Overly dramatic, dickhead.
Yeah.
Off he goes.
Yeah. Hey, no date for you, bro. But I think it's also a bit of a rap to Neve Campbell.
Yeah.
Because she continues to fucking infuse it, even in this shit. Even knowing that she had pretty much kind of said, I don't really want to be in these anymore. Essentially, the third one she cut down because I think A, there was some scheduling, but B, I think her interest levels might have been waning a touch, but she still comes in and delivers in the film and kind of caps off the character. I mean, it's 10 years, isn't it, before you get Scream 4? It's 10 more years.
Yeah. It's a fair
Scream
distance.
4 doesn't come out, till 2010 or 11.
Checkbook wasn't balancing one day in the Campbell house. Yeah. She went, oh, fuck. Is there a new Scream movie available somewhere?
And I think, just talking about this now, I think this last movie has kind of cemented Sydney at the top of my final girl
tree,
basically. I think I love Jamie Lee, I love Laurie Strode, and I think if I'm, looking at single movies, it's still hard to top Halloween.
Well, I was going to ask that question, so let's hold, because we're going to ask that question. Okay. Second worst. So number 4.
Yeah,
Where
Scream
you go?
4 for me.
Yeah, Scream 4.
Also me. Yeah, Scream 4.
My problems with Scream 4 are this, and they're actually going to roll a little bit into Scream 2. Scream 4's got interesting ideas, and I think the reveal and the reasoning and the whole Instagram celebrity idea, it's actually pretty good.
Yes.
It actually, again, like Scream 2, ages up better.
Yeah. Very much
So
so.
the longer we move into the 2000s, the better it plays.
And can I just say, in terms of ahead of its time, I mean, Wes Craven at that point said, fuck Bruce Willis. At the time, I was like, I love Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm saying, fuck Bruce Willis.
Yeah, because every time I turn on YouTube, I got another trailer for some shit he's in with fucking Frank Grillo.
So, again, way ahead of their time. Williamson and...
Yeah.
The problem for me with this is there's some shit dialogue.
Yes.
Including fuck Bruce Willis, and I'm gay, if that helps.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yep.
And
There's one in there that every time I see this movie, again, they do a few like really dark lines in this new movie. There's one they do in Scream 4 that makes me laugh every time because it just makes. I'm trying to think if it makes sense. I'm gonna slit your eyelids open so that you can so you can't blink when I stab you in the face. He says, and it's like, wait, what? What did you say?
you got two
I'm gonna
prescriptive
slit your eyelids in that.
Ghostface, you got
What?
two prescriptive, mate. Let's fucking deck it down.
That's crazy.
Tone it back,
That's a
mate.
mouthful. Yeah.
And one of the problems, and this is why I talked about Kevin Williamson, there's a kind of a smugness to this. That we're fucking smarter than we think we are. The opening sequence that has, movie within a movie within, that sort of shit that they have with, who's in it? Kristen Bell and Anna Paquin, and then there's someone else later. Like, although the scenes, they play all right,
Yeah.
it's just like, you're being too fucking smug for your own good, Kevin.
Yeah, but you know what?
calm
There's
it
some
down.
of the stuff that I don't think was his. The horror quiz spoke to him about that I'm gay if that helps line, and whether they were saying, did you write that intending for that character to be gay? Is that what he's saying? Or is it just like, a commentary on the series? And he basically said, I didn't write that.
Yeah.
He said he wrote part of it, but then, so I think there's more of this one that was taken away from him.
Perhaps.
But you're right. When I first saw that sequence, I really didn't like it. Right now, if I watch it, it plays okay. But there is definitely... And I think the casting of... Which Culkin is it? Rory? Is it Rory Culkin? I think that really hurts in that regard because his whole character comes across as a smug prick the entire movie.
Yeah. And I just think that we're getting too big for our fucking boots. We're talking to the audience like we are so fucking smart, and I hate that in films. I fucking hate it. Don't talk to me like I'm stupid or something. Talk to me like in a horror film. Scream is a classic example of how to do it. You're talking to us as horror fans, and you're sort of showing us that we're clever.
Yeah.
But you're not fucking overdoing it.
Yep.
You know how to talk to us. We love it because of it. And unfortunately, I actually think Scream 2 struggles, has some problems with that too. In this smug kind of... The whole conversation about sequels in Scream 2. I don't particularly like that scene.
Yeah, less
of it in
so.
2. Less of it in 2. 2's a much better movie.
Yep. If I'm pointing out things I didn't like, I think Brandon mentioned this as well. There's points where it just doesn't look like a Scream film at times. It looks a little bit polished. It looks, I think you mentioned overly lit. And I think the big downer for me is there's not any of the characters that really stand up as someone that I would like to see in a sequel. Kirby, yes. Everyone else, aside from Emma Roberts and Rory Culkin's character, what was his name? Charlie. Aside from them, and really, I probably wouldn't have really remembered them if they weren't the killers either. Everyone else is just forgettable, and I just...
The boyfriend, particularly on that one, is just horseshit. He's terrible. What a terrible character.
And they were going to frame him. And I watched the movie fucking 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and then I read a thing, and they're talking about framing the boyfriend, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, there was another guy in there that they were going to frame.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about him because he's just useless. I think the things that really do stand up are, we talked about the things that have aged really well, ahead of the curve on the internet celebrity kind of thing. And initially seeing it in the theatre and seeing Emma Roberts fucking belting herself around that room, I was just like, what are we doing? Now I look at it and I'm like, yeah, okay, I can totally see what they're saying about what some of these people do just for a shred of fame.
Yes. How stupid and how silly they'll go.
Yeah. And Charlie as like the incel kind of, talking to Kirby about how like I almost like I deserved this. I think that stuff holds up pretty well and aged much better. So yeah, they're probably my two main positives. I've really come around to Emma Roberts as one of the better killer reveals in the series. Again, based on what it actually was talking about that I probably didn't quite get at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it benefits from, honestly, a pretty solid cast of supporting characters. Like, almost every character with a significant amount of dialogue, for the most part, is someone you recognize now. I mean, even for the throwaway cops, Adam Brody, Anthony Anderson, and Alison Brie as the kind of bitchy reporter there. It's kind of a fun addition.
She was really good.
I do like the kills are a bit more, there's that girl who gets like disemboweled. There's, the kills are a bit more brutal, not quite maybe as up to par as the 2022, but I do think they do kind of elevate that. And I go back and forth on that opening. I feel like had the legit opening of the movie been a lot stronger or had differentiated it from the two fake out openings that start the movie, I think it could have been a really, really great opening.
Yeah.
Like, I like what they're doing. I like what they're going for. But the third, the actual opening with the characters we're actually supposed to know or who will play in the story later on.
It's pretty weak.
It's just so throwaway. It means absolutely nothing. Like, yeah, it just looks like the other ones. And so.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, kind of a little deflated. But I have come around on this one. I do think it kind of holds up a bit more looking back on it now, especially how in tune it really was to the movies that were coming out at that time. Like, that was the remake craze.
Yes.
And so I really do love, Kirby's scene where she's rattling off those titles, and to just think back, like, holy shit, that was literally in like a 3-year span of those movies coming out. It's just like, wow.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it just plays on Scream's ability to really play on current horror trends. And I think it kind of fit right in line. And yeah, it's a movie that I do think is actually better now than I thought when it first came out. And even over the last few years, I think it's kind of grown on me more.
Yeah, definitely. All right, number 3.
I got to say, I'm really torn on 2 and 3. If you had to ask me after the first time I watched it, it's definitely 2022.
Yeah.
Going back the second time, it's almost neck and neck between Scream 2 and 2022. So I don't know, in 6 months down the track, and when I've had a chance to kind of listen to the director's commentary and get a bit more background knowledge on it, it could be that 2022 is the better one for me.
Yeah.
But right now, I'll stick with the new one as number 3. And that, I think that just speaks to the quality of the series. I always loved Scream 2 because it came out right around that time when I was just obsessed with Scream. I was really getting headlong into the horror stuff. And so I've got a soft spot for it, but I also think it's aged really well. It was actually a really good film to begin with. So I think for the time being, I'll stick with 2022 as the third best in the series. But it's really close. I can't really split them.
How do you feel?
That's ultimately where I came down, is that Scream 22 right now is my third. Again, this could very easily change in a few months, and I completely understand anyone's rationale for putting this up there right at number 2, or the new one up at 2. I had to put this here, and it really just came down to one simple question for me, and that was just like, the second one has more of Sydney, has more of that story, and this one really is built so much toward this new set of characters. And even though when I look, deep down, I think it might be a better film. I think Scream 2022 might be a more logical continuation of the series than Scream 2 is. I think it's just because I've had so much time with it that it's just, so ingrained in my DNA. And gosh, yeah, that because of just the fact that those characters there's more time with them in those movies. I have to put Scream 22 here, just for now. It could change, though. It could change.
Yep.
Oh, I had Scream 2.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
I just think the newer one was just a hair better than Scream 2. Scream 2, the first hour of Scream 2 is excellent. You know, it feels like Scream.
Yep.
Like almost identical. Yep. The second hour, not so much. Like, that's where I start to lose parts of it that I didn't, or find parts of it that I don't like as much. I will admit, though, that I initially hated the ending. I thought it was crap. But subsequent viewings have, again, it has once again kind of, the longer we go on, the more relevant it sort of felt. And it's 10 times better upon review than it was initially. Because I didn't like it. When he found out, it's fucking Billy's mum and, what was the fella's name? Mickey. And the fucking rampant overacting going on between the people in it. I remember thinking, oh, man,
I mean, when you watch the post-reveal, you wouldn't be able to say that Timothy Oliphant's one of the greatest actors that we have at the moment. He's going like up here. He's turned it up to 11, and he's going
too much over the top. But the ending actually makes some sense. The more you look at it. And the whole idea of connecting together through, I don't believe it would have been online, would it?
Yeah, it was online.
It was online, but fuck, it was AOL.
It was a chat room the first time they used that, yeah.
So the idea that, back then, they connected via chat room, this sort of shit happens all the time.
Yeah, it has happened a number of times.
Who have connected and then done something nasty.
Yeah.
So the more we go on, the more we see that, that's actually correct.
Yeah, again, it was ahead of the curve because they were looking at what the internet was and what it could be. And at the time, I was just like, bullshit. All you do is look up your fucking assignments on this bloody thing. Now, it's as you said,
4 hours to download a movie trailer to watch.
Yeah, that's right.
That was all I knew it for.
But now, things that are far nastier than what you see in Scream 2 have happened like that. And also, the Debbie Salt, for a long time, I was just like, so cheap, Billy's mum. But the longer the more I look at it, I'm like, it's a loving tribute to a movie that I love. So I've swung completely on that as well.
Because she's more of the Mrs. Voorhees style.
Yeah, it was just like a reverse Mrs. Voorhees for me. It was kind of the same when she comes on. She's kind of giving it the same energy that Betsy Palmer gives it. That real kind of manic sort of, demented. I love my son sort of, and this is what you do as a parent sort of thing. So I've really turned on that. Because for a long time, I mean, I had the Scream 2 poster up on my wall when I was, 17, 18, whatever. I had it for years and whatever. Loved the movie, but was, like you said, down the stretch, I was always kind of iffy on the ending.
Yeah.
Now, the ending's one of my favourite parts.
Yeah.
So.
But it was a hair between them.
Yeah.
There's not a lot between them.
I think the other thing I if I'm going to talk about why I'm a little bit down, why I might have considered putting Scream lower, I think the sequel stuff starts pretty well, but doesn't really factor in down the end.
And so you're talking about Scream 2?
Scream 2, yeah. So they talk
the rules also don't necessarily hit as well.
They do at certain points. They talk about ramping up the gore and ramping up the violence, which they do a little bit with something like Sarah Michelle Gellar's kill, and I believe she actually shot that before Buffy hit, if I'm not mistaken. So that was another one where it's kind of like we've now put someone who is a sort of cultural icon of the time just happened to show up in the series.
Yeah.
So I think they do touch on a couple of those things, but down the end, it just kind of hits, okay, we've got to have the two killers again and do this.
Yeah.
It doesn't really factor in as much for the sequel talk.
Yes.
Whereas
I think once you have Jerry O'Connell singing I Think I Love You in the cafeteria is a real turning point for the film.
The peak of his career, I'm telling you.
No, the peak of his career is fucking Trip McNeely.
Kangaroo Jack.
Trip McNeely. If he wasn't Trip McNeely, no one would know who he was. Right?
Yeah, Trip McNeely.
Trip McNeely.
Genius.
He'll always be Joe from Joe's Apartment for me.
Yeah. Or fucking whatever his name was in Sliders.
Piranha
Piranha 3D,
boy.
where he gets his dick fucking.
There we go. Yeah, spitting the camera. Yeah, that's great.
Oh, what a fucking! Imagine having that.
Coming soon. We've got to watch that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. So obviously, I had the 2022 version at number 2.
Yep.
And you guys had Scream 2.
Yeah. I echo exactly what Brandon said. Like, at the moment, for me, 2022 is third, but it's very close. And if anyone had, 2022 as number 2 on the list, I can't argue.
No.
I can't argue with the rationale. It's splitting hairs.
Yeah. And obviously...
Yeah. I typically have a negative or the opposite sense of recency bias where I typically just tend to look at them as like, I can't quite fully appreciate them now.
Yeah.
And so I feel that, you asked me in a couple of years, I feel like it could flip. Because on this rewatch, there were a lot more problems I did notice with Scream 2 that, maybe I've just chosen to ignore over the years. But yeah, it doesn't quite hold up, I think, as well as I really put this, like, not necessarily neck and neck with the original Scream, but it's always been my favorite of the Hangover 2 style sequels where you're just going to literally, let's do the movie again.
Yeah.
Let's just release it the next year while the, momentum's still hot type of deal.
And I think we talked about this very briefly. I love that opening scene, but it's got to be one of Ghostface's worst moments where they're in the toilet still kind of whispering, pretending to be someone else. So that Phil leans up against the thing. I was just like, that sucks.
I would buy the dick coming through the hole.
Sean Wayans. Yeah, exactly.
Going through Sean Wayans' ear.
Yeah, but I will say that opening scene, that movie theater kill. I don't know if there's anything as iconic in the new Scream as that scene.
Yeah.
Like that, I think that scene is
sequence as a whole is
one
great.
Of the,
but just don't whisper in the toillet stall.
Yeah.
Give me
you
something.
sound like you're fucking some sort of weirdo.
Or sport a leather jacket later on. I don't know about it. If I like to see Ghostface wearing a leather jacket in the theater.
Yeah.
You know what though? With 2, it's probably held in a little higher esteem because it's so close to 1, and it does fit pretty seamlessly with 1 as far as coming together, and the characters are all there. And I really actually appreciate they killed Randy.
Yeah,
because I thought they wouldn't do
another
it.
Moment where it really. Yeah, ups the stakes.
So it ups the stakes, and he was a character that everyone loved in the first movie.
I was actually surprised to find, like, I always thought I'd probably had Scream 2, I'd held it above what it actually was because of the significance that it had to me personally. But I was actually surprised to find there's a lot of internet rankings and a lot of talk online of Scream 2 being a better movie than the first one, which I don't agree with at all.
No.
But there's a lot more than you would think.
Yeah, which is interesting because I actually think the step down between 1 and 2 is quite...
Yeah, I think even as much as I love Scream
large.
2, I think Scream 1 is clearly better. But yeah, it surprised me how many times I saw people saying Scream 2 is better than Scream.
I mean, put it this way. Scream is a 5 out of 5 film.
Yeah, for me personally.
None of the others come anywhere near that.
No.
Like, Scream is genuinely in there with Halloween and Jaws and fucking, these Die Hard and all these classic fucking films that I would consider 5 out of 5.
Yep.
And Scream 2 is nowhere near that. It's good. It's a very good film, but it's not that type of good. So I'm not quite sure where those sort of rankings come in.
But yeah, watching it because again, it somehow has a higher Rotten Tomatoes score. I think the sequel does than the first film has a higher Rotten Tomatoes score. But watching it this time really does put into perspective, or kind of highlights the fact that this is just a movie that Scream didn't need any sequels. Like, it's a story that honestly shouldn't have sequels, based on the sole premise of the killers are dead at the end of the first one. Yeah. There's no real reason other than these Scooby-Doo hijinks of people throughout the series putting on the same mask, the same costume. Yeah. It just makes no real sense as logically for a horror series to continue without one bad guy, like a Michael Myers or a Freddy Krueger, Jason. And so, watching the series run through again before this new one, as much as I love all these sequels, they're just never. You can never make a sequel to this that will ever even come close to rivaling that first one. It's just it's a fool's errand because it's just so iconic,
Yeah.
and there's just no reason to make anymore. But I love that they do, and I
So
hope
do
they keep
I.
going because
Same.
I'm a sick bastard.
And I agree.
Yeah.
There'll never be that freshness again.
No, that's right.
The first
Yeah.
one has that. We know nothing about it. We know it's a slasher, but we're going in to find out what it is,
Yeah.
and then we come out of it and we're like, "Fuck,
Yeah.
that was awesome."
And we've spoken about it before. Like, it's the one that fucking changed the genre because it had gotten so stale. The rest of the series has commented on where horror is at that time, but none of the other ones have altered the course of the genre like the first one did.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a fucking by a stretch at the top. You'd have to make one hell of a fucking movie to get close.
Yep.
And in these sequels, when I'm saying 3.5 with 2022, I'm pretty fucking happy with 3.5.
Yeah.
I'm saying 3.5's
Yeah.
damn good.
Damn good. Well, this time around, I was wrestling 3.5 and 4, much like Luke.
Yeah.
Because the second viewing, I just enjoyed it so immensely. But like you said, even if it's a 3.5, that's fucking fantastic considering it's the fifth movie in this series that, as Brandon just mentioned, probably didn't need to go past one. So,
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the Hollywood machine and we were just talking about telling a great story, it stops there, doesn't it?
Exactly. Exactly. All right, so ranked, I had Scream 2022, Scream 3, Scream 4. Scream 2, Scream 4, Scream 3. And you guys had exactly the same, just switch them up.
Yep.
Scream 2 as number 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, just a little bit of discussion before we wrap it all up. We made mention of it very briefly in the episode we did on 2022 about Sydney Prescott and where she sits, that character sits as far as final girls go in horror. You had some things to say.
Yeah, I blew my stack early, mate.
You
I didn't realise you had it on your list there.
Yeah, I know. Well, fuck, I don't communicate with anyone.
Did Luke write that for you? Yeah, you just noticed it.
Yeah. No, he did. I wrote that and then told no one. Okay, so what are your thoughts here on Sydney Prescott? Because we've talked very, very in depth about how she's grown and that character has grown constantly through the series.
I'll jump in because I already kind of, I already started to put my thoughts out there. But yeah, I think she's top of the tree now. I just think the way that they've handled it as we go for a character that was being brought back purely for sort of monetary gain and, because fans like me, even though the story is nice and compact on the first one, hey, I'm happy to see it. I say it all the time. I've got limited years on the planet. Just give me every friggin' Scream, Halloween that you can give me. Give me every iteration of the story that I can consume while I'm here. But I think she's just the only one that is in a series for a length of time that progresses like she does. Like, there is a difference between Sydney and Scream 1 and Scream 2. Even with a slight role in Scream 3, there is a progression. Scream 4, she's moved on even further. Scream 5, again, slight role. But there's a progression all the way through. You can kind of track a growth. You can track the way she's dealt with it, the way she's come to terms with it. I just don't think you get that the same with Laurie Strode because she hasn't been in the series the whole time. And we're up to, what, is it the second or fucking third timeline with Laurie? Is she his sister? Is she not? Like, all this stuff. It's just, I think it's just neater. And even with those new stories that touch on the PTSD or how you deal with trauma, Sydney's been doing that the whole time. So I would have her at the top of the tree. Laurie, obviously, you don't mess with the original, and there's always a special place there, and there's always, you came first and you set the tone. Even for Scream 2022, Halloween 218 did it first. But I just think Sydney's...
They even name check it too, which is
that's
good.
Right,
sounds a lot like Halloween,
So I just think, the progression through the whole series, the growth through the whole series has always been there. And we haven't branched off in different timelines and stuff. We've just dealt with what we had. I just think she's top of the pile.
Yeah, I would agree. She's up. She's right at the top. I would have them neck and neck, just because I've got a real soft spot for Laurie Strode.
Mm-hmm.
That character has been important in horror and slasher films forever.
Yeah.
And
there would be no Sydney.
There would be no Sydney without
Strode.
Laurie Strode. And you talked when we did H2O about how well they brought Laurie back then. So the progression, there has been some progression, and I think it's been quite well handled. It's not as clean, yes. It jumps all over the fucking map because there's so many different movies in between.
Yeah. I mean, she had PTSD. She died. She came back to life. She
had a few fucking problems, right? She got sex pested by fucking Lance Guest. She's had a rough time of it.
But even then,
traumatic.
Sydney got sex pested by McDreamy, so she's ahead there.
True. Shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll have to wait to see Laurie get out of the hospital bed to see how I finally feel about her as a final girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll have to see what happens with Halloween Ends before I really truly, come to assess it all, because I feel like that's really going to influence my decision. But I will say, I think Sydney's the most consistent. She's honestly the one who's killed way more people, and honestly has dealt with even more trauma. I mean, honestly, the fact that if we're going off that new timeline of films, Laurie Strode's dealing with some psycho who escaped a mental institution, not her boyfriend or her, her like cousin, whatever. All these people, she's murdered several people, well more than 4 that was on that first Halloween night, that Laurie's dealing with, of the murder victims type deal. So I will feel like, how many times these films have been rebooted, and there's a choose your own adventure timeline with Halloween. As much as I love it, it's still probably my favorite film series because I'm a fucking masochist. I will say that Sidney Prescott, I think might have the edge for me as the number.
I think we missed an opportunity there, Brandon, to consult your expert opinion on our SmackDown versus Halloween 5 and Halloween 6. There, we really should have got your thoughts on that.
Where do you come in on?
Speaking of
Halloween 5 and Halloween 6, I believe we placed it as Halloween 5's like having your fucking dick in a vice. Halloween 6 is like having it in a blender. So what would you prefer? What would you prefer, the fucking vice or the blender?
Gun to the head, I have to pick the one that stars Paul Rudd and has an electric score.
The electric guitar.
Guitar lick.
Just a searing
I might have
version of the
to give it
Halloween.
the edge.
Yeah, what you're saying is a very valid point. That, I mean, much like Laurie, her growth is currently sitting in a hospital bed on an IV drip, waiting for the next film to happen.
Well, she did say she might have been in love with fucking Will Patton for fucking no apparent reason. And Halloween Kills.
I'm surprised. I'm still surprised how much I enjoyed Halloween Kills, considering how big some of those issues were.
Oh, same, absolutely. I loved it. I genuinely loved it, but like I look at it as like, what the fuck is happening?
It was the same with 2018. 2018 could have been an absolute fucking dumpster fire had Dr. Sartain's situation really hit as hard as it could have.
From there.
Imagine if that cocksucker hadn't been killed. Holy shit.
Yeah. He's got the mask rolling around. That would have been terrible.
Fucking hell, I would have been beside myself. So Halloween Kills had similar issues. It actually had more of them.
Yeah, it had more issues, but still very.
It was still entertaining and still well made. It's just that when a small man, a fucking Hobbit-sized man, allegedly is Michael Myers, and then fucking leaps off a building.
Yeah, we might have wanted to reconsider that one.
And that sane people like doctors and nurses are chasing him up.
Beating the shit out of people, anyone who come in their way. Yeah, ruthless.
I mean,
and I think
the only thing missing was a fucking pitchfork.
Yeah, and I think that's what's kind of unique about the Scream series is so many people were fucking furious with Halloween Kills, and I genuinely had a pretty good time. I understand everyone's complaints, but again, I'm happy to see Michael Myers, and because we have so many Halloweens, because we already knew going into Halloween Kills that there was going to be a Halloween Ends, I was able to just accept this as like 90 minutes of Michael Myers like murdering people in a town, and a slight unique turn on the spin. It's like a unique enough anyway to like justify itself as a sequel. Yeah. This new Scream reboot had that the handicap of coming in out of nowhere and us just wondering like how far can this fall and what is it trying to do? And the fact that it did, in my opinion, stick the landing is just crazy impressive. Yeah. And I do liken it to the success of that 2018 Halloween. Like they were able to pull it off, and similar to where Halloween Kills was is I'm genuinely curious, like, where do they go from here?
Yeah.
What do they how can they bring this into another sequel without me? Because here's what I don't want. I don't want Sam to be the killer in these future films, and we lose that whodunit mystery. If that's what they're gearing towards, I don't think it is, but I've heard rumors online that maybe that's a possibility.
Yeah, no. And look, that segues into the other thing I wrote but didn't tell you about. It's like, where does it go? Like, what?
Yeah.
Again, I'm all for green lighting things, and I'm all for the fact that we've got a plan. So, the Halloween 2018 reboot.
Well, we've been told we have a
Yeah,
plan.
yeah.
We could be being
Now the directors are scratching around going, fucking hell.
Yeah, where's that fucking napkin?
Yeah, I wrote that on a coaster the other night when we were pissed. What was going on? The new rebooted Halloween obviously had intentions for 3 films, right? That's what we've been told. We were told from the get-go, I think.
Yeah,
was that
I have a feeling they had a beginning and an end, and then they said, "Let's turn this into a trilogy."
Yeah.
And that's why, in my opinion, while I liked it, not much
Yeah.
changes or varies at the beginning or start
I
of,
think,
or end rather of Halloween Kills.
I think Jason Blum might have said 2. Can you give me 3?
Yeah.
What do you think? And they just said,
After he saw that weekend, that box office opening,
they just said, if we're getting that producer credit, I'm pretty sure we can give you 3.
we can give you 3, and we'll have little Big John, Little John.
Yeah, David Gordon Green says, just taps Kenny Powers and says, "We'll just use some of that Big John, Little John shit you wrote the other day." Yeah, all right. My concern is your green light within what? The fucking thing's been out for about 20 days, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's made $100 and so million. So
Yes.
it's made more money worldwide than Scream 4 did, substantially, in its first first 20 odd days of release. So you're thinking it's probably going to pull in about 150, 180, maybe across the board on a $25 million budget. That's fucking great.
And then you toss in home release.
Yeah. So they're going to make good money.
Yep.
Now, it's Paramount's baby now. It's not Weinstein Company.
No, I don't think so.
It's
I think
Paramount
it's
and
been sold as
Spyglass.
part of it, yeah.
Right? So that's so they're going ka-ching.
Yes. And we do know that Paramount doesn't necessarily have the best history of taking care with these products or actually even bothering.
Friday the 13th.
I mean, it only made us squillions of dollars, but we barely bothered to bloody, throw it a crumb. But with Friday the 13th. But hopefully, and this is best case scenario. They're saying they had a plan beyond this one. Hopefully, we're taking them at their word and they're telling us the truth.
But I've got question marks on that.
There's question marks. Brandon,
you summed it up. Where were we going? Like, as that movie ends, what is the next logical step? And if it's fucking Sam, then you've cocked it up.
Yeah, I don't want it to be Sam either, and I don't really have an interest in that. I know people have spoken for a long time about how it would have been great to see Halloween go with that Jamie Lloyd stuff. I'm kind of here nor there on that. But I don't mind them if that ending had played a little better. I wouldn't have minded that just being in the realm of possibility.
Yeah,
and them being able to play with that. But I don't want it to go there either.
But think about who you've got left over. You've got Sam.
Yep.
You've got her sister.
Yep. Chad and Mindy.
Yeah, Chad and Mindy. Who else you got? That it?
Galen Sidney.
Galen Sidney.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So if you're gonna move forward with the same kind of idea of having the legacy and the youth characters, are we gonna kill off another legacy character? Is it gonna play out similar type of ways?
Well, this is the other question, right? Do we take the legacy characters, or was this the way to leave them and try to forge something new?
Because the problem is those four characters.
That's where I feel like
they're not getting me through the fucking door.
I have no real interest in seeing where they go. That being said, also, it seems like the legacy characters have no real reason to continue here. And so anything they bring them back for is probably going to seem contrived. But
correct.
I'm hoping, I like the idea of maybe there being sort of like a violent sociopath, or like they're laying those seeds as your heroine. Like if you're going to pit Ghostface against someone who might be a formidable opponent. If you go a different route with your maybe Sidney Prescott, step-in character.
I mean, me personally,
but in the same respect,
although I love that, I'd like a telekinetic character.
There we go.
Can really ramp it up.
Yeah, telekinetic character sounds.
No,
good.
but I think you're right, Brandon. I mean, I don't know. Those 4 characters just don't fucking ring my bells much.
No, and that's
Yeah.
the problem, right? Is that as much as I really, really did like the movie, and I feel like I'd be happy to leave the legacy characters where they are if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't walk through the door of Scream 6 going, fuck yes, I can't wait to see Sam again. Like,
Yeah, I go, ooh.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to go to the bathroom. You know?
Yeah.
They would have to bring back like a Matthew Lillard, even if it is just visiting the jail and he's, in there and still
With a squashed
alive and he
face.
has nothing to do necessarily. Yeah, exactly. With like a smashed up gross face or some bullshit. They would have to do some sort of gimmick like that to get me, interested in where they're going with this, unless they bring in just like a new cast, like a tremendous new cast.
Yeah.
Unless-
just
the
to
more
round
you-
this
Well,
out.
the other
Well, you
option
sort of
would be
toss those out, it's like-
to also kind of finalise Sydney and Gale for good.
Yeah, but I see, this is, again, what do you achieve if you bring them back and kill them at this point? Like,
I don't know.
we've had such a good progression with them. If you're bringing them back just to kill them, that's when it starts to go, right, well,
Should we bring back
just going money grab
McDreamy?
territory there. Yeah, bring back McDreamy.
Yeah, he's the
bring
lead
back
in the next
Joel.
one. I feel like we do a Seven style, a detective noir with McDreamy as the lead investigator trying to really
talk
figure
about
out who
me to
this
say
Ghostface
fucking
is.
his life was a horror movie. Oh, he's making my life a horror movie too.
Yeah.
I'm a bit with you. I just the legacy guys don't seem to fit. If you wanted to go again, they don't fit.
Yeah. And, I'm always willing to be corrected on that stuff, or, if someone's got a great idea. But I just feel like if you're going to... It felt like they just gave them a nice little send-off. We had you here to help the new people get through what they needed to get through, and now it's time to pass the torch, which Halloween kind of seemed to be placing a little bit and didn't really do. Maybe that's what we're coming
What are we
towards in
talking
Halloween
about?
Ends. Well, Halloween Kills, the way they had, they had the 3 Strode girls in the back of the ute on the way out at the end of the first one, and then in the second one, we go to Judy Greer, which I still think was kind of a baffling sort of choice. So, I don't know, I feel like bringing Sydney and Gale back starts to open us up to that sort of stuff. So, I don't know. I'm sure these guys, judging by the ideas that they've presented already, I'm sure they got better ideas than I do, but I'm just a little bit sceptical about the legacy characters again.
Yep. I wouldn't. I think you have to leave Sydney where she is. You have to try and build a new Sydney, essentially. You have to try and build a new...
I have a feeling they're going to go into a little bit more about like Billy's, Billy's relationship with this mom. Maybe we'll get more of her in this new one.
Maybe.
And their family lineage will be the new, tying point for all these killers.
Does Billy have
I
like a
don't know.
string of illegitimate children or something?
Yes,
Exactly. Some weird thing.
He fucked his way across Woodsboro. And look, he was a good looking fella. I mean, he wasn't going to struggle.
Yeah, look, he wasn't gonna struggle. But I don't know. There's definitely
There's concerns.
there.
Big concern.
And the other thing is bringing Stu back. I would love to see it, but it's now being talked about to the point where it's like, well, shit. I don't
It's
know.
expected, and it's also like...
But in a way, it'd feel like parody. I mean, it just the bloke's
No,
fucking
you're
dead.
kind of
I'm
right,
not
because
really
it's
sure.
also... it's doing that Scream 3 where it's kind of like hurting the original, where it's kind of changing,
I mean, if
the timeline in a way.
If Scream 3 or 4 had done that, I don't recall as much chatter about it, but right now, everyone's talking about it. So it's like, well, how do you do it now and make it a surprise or make it a...
Yeah, or make it an interesting reason to actually have him.
Yeah.
Because you've got to have a reason to have
I guess
the bloke.
what I'd... Now, do you got... Because I have like a few things that I would need going forward, and that really is... And the mask, like the costume and Roger Jackson has to stay the same.
Yeah.
And if that goes away...
Yeah.
I feel like I'd start to turn on things.
Yes.
They tried that with that Scream TV series, and I remember seeing the first image of that being like, what is this shit?
Can I just
And
say,
to think if they were to do that
actually,
with a feature film, I'd be pretty...
You've got
I actually
costume.
have the costume from the TV show that I got for a Halloween 1 year.
Nobody knew what it was, I'm sure.
What's this? It looks like Scream. Yeah, well.
You know what? Has anybody actually seen the 3rd season of the Scream TV series?
No, we still haven't got it here. There's nowhere to watch it. I would have watched it in a heartbeat.
I would have watched it. I heard it was fucking garbage.
Yeah,
but,
I heard it was pretty average too, but we just haven't had access to it here. I don't
it's a bit
think.
weird. Yeah, you've got to have certain things. You've got to keep certain things. Okay, as you said, Ghostface, the costume, Roger Jackson's voice. It's all got to still be there. But I'm just. The more I think about it, the more I think. I mean, these guys may have better ideas, exactly, but they may not either.
Yeah, true.
To me, I just don't see where's the connection to any of this.
I'll tell you one, kind of two things in the same realm that I would like to see.
Mm-hmm.
If there's two killers, I would like to see one of them discovered early, so that the rest of the film is trying to figure out who the other one is.
Yes.
Or we ditch the two killers and we either go like we come up with another twist on the two killers, and we either have more than that or back to one. Like, it's just, again, it comes down to what ideas they've got. But these are all things that I'm hitting the point where I'm like, we need to start. If you're going to twist on the formula again, it might be time to do it with that.
I think that idea from Scream, the idea of, the movie club in Scream 4 and all that kind of
doing
stuff.
the April Fool's Day kind of setup. Yeah,
The classic Murder on the Orient Express. They all killed him.
Yep.
That kind of thing could work. That could be a nice way to look at it.
But I think, I've just got in the back of my head, and I thought about it going into this one. I thought when we got into the hospital, I was thinking, are they going to unmask someone halfway? And then we have this figuring out who the other one is.
Which would have been cool.
I think that's on the table. I reckon that's what on the table. That's probably something they've thought about and toyed with. So, yeah, I would like to see something like that playing with the reveal a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, it just doesn't, at the moment, it doesn't seem like there's instant progression here. So, take time.
It's not an obvious place to go.
Yeah, take some fucking time. As long as you do that.
Well, it's shooting by the end of this year.
This summer, right?
Yeah.
I think it's shooting in a few months.
In for I think it's 4 or 5 months away that they're going to start shooting it.
Yeah.
Obviously.
So I'm hoping that means that their idea was so solid that they're like, we can bang this out. We got the whole idea ready to go.
As you pointed out, some fucking idiot movie execs just going, yep, go ahead. Go ahead with it. Not going...
last summer they said Scream, and they're going, what's Scream? This summer they're going, yes, this is what we need.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't know that.
Has anyone read
Here's
it?
where I'm also... I'd also really like to know, what the fuck did they call this? What would they call it? Because you can't go Scream 2.
Yeah.
You'd have to go something like Scream Legacy or some bullshit like that with a colon. Scream again, Scream harder. Scream kills.
Scream with a vengeance.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Because we're getting into a bit of a fucking risky area.
This is ridiculous. Yeah, the fact that I have to say a year after the goddamn title of a movie has shown us that we have no
options,
no originality anymore. Yeah, like what's happening?
I mean, look at the Halloween series. There's 3 films called Halloween. Fucking what?
Yeah, it's funny
because
there's
2 called Halloween 2.
They did make fun of. Obviously, they made fun of that with the dead meat stuff. But I think it was the one where you look at it and you're like, yeah, but we're not wrong with that. Like, you're getting into some territory here where saying the name after every time. You're having to say, Rob Zombie's Halloween or Halloween 2018, or instead of just saying Halloween. Yeah, it's getting a bit silly now.
Yeah. I'm concerned. Now that you've told me in 5 months these fuckwits
Well, we're back to the Friday the 13th model where you walk out of Friday 3 and Friday 4's session starting up next door.
Yeah.
Which honestly, like, I'll give it to you. Bring me all of them back again. Like, I'm fine. Even no matter how terrible they get, I'm eager to see how shitty this new Texas Chainsaw is.
Oh yeah, because speaking of that, this is a bit of a side note, but I was under the impression that Netflix had, picked up the rights to TCM and decided to put a new film together, but no, no. Test screenings were a fucking disaster.
They said test screenings were pretty
Netflix
pretty bad.
Just went, all right, we'll take it.
Netflix swooped. Although is it Fede Alvarez that's producing it? He came out and said, no,
Produced.
that didn't.
Oh, did he?
That didn't happen. Yeah, I get you. It's coming out in a couple of weeks. You've got to put the positive spin on.
It's similar to when Sylvester Stallone told us that Rambo Last Blood was cutting together beautifully.
Yeah, that's right.
You know,
Similar to when The Rock gets on Instagram and tells us Red Notice. Yeah,
greatest action movie of all
Love it.
time.
Jesus.
Thank you, dickhead. But you know what I mean? I'm concerned about, looking at Texas Chainsaw Massacre, for instance.
Mm.
Next thing you know, we'll have Scream films on fucking Netflix. Do you know what I mean? Like, we'll start to slip into the streaming giants just going, we'll take that property and we'll just grind it into the shit. Nothing against grinding it into the shit, because I'll watch all that shit. Don't you worry about that. But your quality dips, and when we're talking about Scream before, about ranking them, you kind of realise this is a pretty well regarded series. This isn't Friday the 13th. It's not Halloween. It doesn't have 5 films that you wouldn't fucking piss on, and then a handful of decent ones. So I want the quality to survive. But if you're gonna fucking rush the thing out as quick as you possibly can,
I'm waiting. We'll eventually get the whole "I've been waiting 50 years for you" Ghostface, and Nev Campbell's all grey and shit. Yeah.
The only thing that fills me with some confidence is it seems like Nev Campbell would be the sort of person who'd be like, no,
thank you.
No, thank you. I think we've had enough.
Yeah. Yep.
So there might actually be the reason why the legacy characters will have bowed out.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, they may have discussed it and said, "Look, we don't intend to come back. This would be the end of it." But
yeah, she's got to shoot Skyscraper too.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Has he got a fucking? Do you reckon he's got a bionic arm as well? Is that right?
Yeah.
He's double. He's a fucking double banger.
Bionic eyeball or something that can sense danger. Or,
but still the family dad, just still the dad, just still the family
I'm just
man.
a family man. I can just crush your fucking head in seconds. So don't get out of bloody line. All right, I think that cuts it. That covers it, gents. So that was re-rating the Scream franchise. Brandon, thanks again, mate. Really appreciate your thoughts and involvement in this last couple of episodes.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, guys.
No worries at all. I think we might look to rate the Saw franchise or the Subspecies franchise.
Oh, man, there's a whole bunch of them.
Basket Case
Urban
franchise.
Legends. Yeah, I mean, there's tons of these series we can get into.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely going to be another one. So, mate, your fucking weekend is going to be fucking stuffed.
Yeah, exactly. Shot.
a little bit down the track. But look, thanks again, and for everybody tuning in, and until next time, take it easy. We'll catch up with everyone later. Cheers.
Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia, or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at iinet.net.au.